Begin with the reflections on universal well-being. May I abide in well-being, in freedom from affliction, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may I maintain well-being in myself. May everyone abide in well-being, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may they maintain well-being in themselves. May all be released from all suffering, and may they not be parted from the good fortune they have attained. When they act upon intention, all beings are the owners of their action and inherit its results. Their future is born from such action, companion to such action, and results will be their home. All actions with intention, be they skillful or harmful, of such acts they will be the heirs. We'll continue to read about Acharya Mun's experience of awakening. And today we have a chance to see how all the Buddhas respond, because the Buddhas come to greet Acharya Mun after he wakes up. So this is titled The Most Exalted Appreciation. On the nights subsequent to Acharya Mun's attainment of vimutti, that's liberation, a number of Buddhas, accompanied by their Arahant disciples, came to congratulate him on his vimutti dharma, his dharma of liberation. One night, a certain Buddha, accompanied by tens of thousands of Arahant disciples, came to visit. The next night, he was visited by another Buddha, who was accompanied by hundreds of thousands of Arahant disciples. Each night, a different Buddha came to express his appreciation, accompanied by a different number of Arahant disciples. Acharya Mun stated that the number of accompanying Arahant disciples varied according to each Buddha's relative accumulation of merit, a factor that differed from one Buddha to the next. The actual number of Arahant disciples accompanying each Buddha did not represent the total number of his Arahant disciples. They merely demonstrated the relative levels of accumulated merit and perfection that each individual Buddha possessed. Among the Arahant disciples accompanying each of these Buddhas were quite a few young novices. Acharya Mun was skeptical about this, so he reflected on it and realized that the term Arahant does not apply exclusively to monks. Novices whose hearts are completely pure are also Arahant disciples, so their presence did not raise issue with the term in any way. Most of the Buddhas came to show their appreciation to Acharya Mun, addressing him in much the following manner. I, the Tathagata, am aware that you have escaped from the harmful effects of that monstrous suffering which you endured in the prison of samsara. So I have come to express my appreciation. This prison is enormous and quite impregnable. It is full of seductive temptations who so enslave those who are unwary that it is extremely difficult for anyone to break free. Of the vast number of people living in the world, hardly anyone is concerned enough to think of looking for a way out of dukkha that perpetually torments their bodies and minds. They are like sick people who cannot be bothered to take medicine. Even though medicines are plentiful, they are of no use to a person who refuses to take them. Think Lotus Sutra with the father who has his children who get sick and he tries to give them medicine but they don't take it. Buddha Dharma is like medicine. Beings in samsara are afflicted with the painful, oppressive disease of kilesas, that's the afflictions, which causes endless suffering. Inevitably, this disease can be cured only by the medicine of Dharma. Left uncured, it will drag living beings through an endless succession of births and deaths, all of them bound up with physical and mental pain. Although Dhamma exists everywhere throughout the whole universe, those who are not really interested in properly availing themselves of its healing qualities are unable to take advantage of it. And just got to reflect on that in our own lives, how long we've been in samsara, right? How much suffering and difficulties we've experienced. And the Buddha is saying, there's the medicine right before us, but in our delusion, in our busyness, we don't take it. And so Venerable Ajahn Mun, one of those rare individuals that actually took the medicine. Dharma exists in its own natural way. Beings in samsara spin around like wheels through the pain and suffering of each successive life in the natural way of samsara. They have no real prospect of ever seeing an end to dukkha, and there is no way to help them unless they are willing to help themselves by holding firmly to the principles of Dhamma, earnestly trying to put them into practice. No matter how many Buddhas become enlightened or how extensive their teachings are, only those willing to take the prescribed medicine will benefit. The Dhamma taught by all the Buddhas is invariably the same: to renounce evil and to do good. There exists no Dhamma teaching more exceptional than this. For even the most exceptional kleshas, the afflictions, in the hearts of living beings are not so exceptional that they can transcend the power of Dhamma taught by all the Buddhas. The Dhamma in itself is sufficient to eradicate every kind of kilesa there is, unless, of course, those practicing it allow themselves to be defeated by their klesas, and so conclude that the Dhamma must be worthless. When our afflictions take us over, our bad habits seem just too intractable, so we just give up and say, the Dharma doesn't work. This medicine doesn't work. In fact, it's because we haven't truly applied the medicine fully and skillfully and appropriately for our liberation. By nature, kleshas have always resisted the power of Dharma. Consequently, people who defer to the kleshas are people who disregard the Dharma. They're unwilling to practice the way, for they view it as something difficult to do, a waste of time they could otherwise spend enjoying themselves, despite the harm such pleasures cause them. A wise, far-sighted person should not retreat into a shell like a turtle in a pot of boiling water. It is sure to die because it can't find a way to escape. Like that, right? A turtle in boiling water. That's us. The world is a cauldron, boiling with the consuming heat of the klesas. Earthly beings of every description, everywhere, must endure its torment. For there is no safe place to hide, no way to elude this conflagration burning in their own hearts. Right there is where dukkha is. Right there where the dukkha is. You have seen the truly genuine Tathagata, haven't you? What is the genuine Tathagata? The Tathagata is the Buddha. The genuine Tathagata is simply that purity of heart you have just realized. The bodily form in which I now appear is merely a manifestation of relative conventional reality. This form does not represent the true Buddha or the true Arahant. It is just our conventional bodily appearance. So it seems very similar to the Vajra Sutra, right? That those of us who seek the Buddha in forms don't see the Buddha. So Acharya Mun replied that he had doubts about the true nature, that he had no doubts about the true nature of the Buddha and the Arahants. And here it is, I won't go into the long conversation, but it's very interesting because Acharya Mun asked the Buddha, how can you appear in samsara? Because you really realize nirvana. Aren't you completely free of samsara and don't come back? And this is often the view that's held in the Theravada tradition. It's in the Pali Canon, doesn't really talk about it in too much detail, but it's often held that essentially after the Buddha or the Arahant realize Nibbana, they leave and they don't communicate with samsara. So this is a kind of a strange occurrence. And the Buddha's response is essentially that they're free to engage however they wish. For those who realize Nibbana, they can directly communicate in the realm of liberation. For those in samsara who are still locked in kind of conventional reality, they still take on a conventional form. And Acharya Mun, I think Acharya Mahabuddha makes a commentary to say that those who say the Buddha cannot appear in the conventional realm is actually putting conditions on the unconditioned. Who is to say that the Buddha can't come back and communicate, is his point. But it's interesting here is this is Acharya Mun giving his own kind of experience about what happened. He's not reading from the Pali text. He's actually saying, I woke up and the Buddhas came to visit, and this is what they told me, and this is the conversation that we had. So it goes on in this kind of exchange, which is quite interesting. And I'll read you one more part, where the Buddha talks to him about the monastic form. So the Buddha explains, the Tathagata's monks must live in mutual respect and friendship. I think Kalyana Mitra, right? This kind of spiritual friendship. As though they were all one single entity, right? Living together in harmony. This does not mean that they are friendly in a worldly way. It's very key. Not friendly in a worldly way, but rather they are friendly in the equal, unbiased way of Dhamma. When my monks live together, even in large numbers, they never quarrel or display arrogance. Monks who do not respect their fellows according to the principles of the teachings and the discipline of the Buddha are not worthy of being called the Tathagata's monks. Even though those monks may imitate the disciples of the Buddha, they are merely impostors, making false claims. As long as monks respect each other according to the principles of the Dhamma-Vinaya, which substitute for the Buddha himself, and never violate these principles, then wherever those monks live, whenever they were ordained, whatever their race, status, or nationalities, they remain true disciples of the Tathagata. And whoever is a true follower of the Tathagata must surely see the end of dukkha one day. So then it says, the Buddha and all his disciples vanished instantly the moment he finished speaking. As for Acharya Mun, all his doubts had vanished the moment that vision appeared to him so clearly. It's pretty amazing. And to me, it kind of breaks some of the categories we sometimes have of the Theravada tradition that says, there's just one Buddha, or the historical Buddha. Of course, in the Theravada, they do have Buddhas in the past as well. And they also talk about there's the Buddha Maitreya in the future. But here, Acharya Mun wakes up, and the Buddhas from many different places come to visit him with many different Arahant disciples. And to me, it's actually quite inspiring because, in fact, in our own sutras, it describes all these different Buddhas, that they're present, teaching. Like, for instance, Amitabha Buddha in the Pure Land. We don't see it, but that's just because our vision is so limited. We can barely even see outside we can't even see outside the room that we're in. Our vision is, put our hand in front of our face, we can't see anything. And so from the perspective of an awakened being, they see so much more. And I think for us who are in this body, in this life, to have this opportunity to meet the Dharma, to say, let's not miss the opportunity, let's take the medicine. And who knows, maybe some of us will get liberated and get to see the Buddha. Okay, so let's do 3 steps, 1 bow.